And it was also around that time because remember we were going to that seminar together, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when they were talking about dress reforms and all these things, right? I'm like, okay, I need dress reform, right? I was still in college because I'm 2 years older. I'm in college, I
She's
don't
younger.
2 years younger, sorry.
Yeah.
2 years younger. I'm still in college. I don't have a lot of money. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I like to look nice. Like, God, like what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I'll check Goodwill and thrift stores and stuff like that to find nice pieces. I started doing that in for special occasions. I'll go to like, New York and Company. And I'm like, okay, these are two extremes in the sense I'm like, I'm gonna pay like $100 for a dress or get a used dress for like $10. But I'm like, there has to be, and we were talking about all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, God, you called me, to dress reform, but I'm like, I also don't want to feel like a grandma. I also want to look nice, I'm a young woman, and all these things we were talking
Mm-hmm.
about it, and until God says, okay, this is the way to go. This is how you guys should move. So all these things internally, we were battling with them, and that does happen with a lot of young ladies that I talk to nowadays. It's like, okay, yes, God called me to take on the dress reform, but I don't know how to go about it. Like, where do I go
Mm-hmm.
buy my dresses?
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the mall, they're so expensive. Or, but I also want to look nice. I don't want to be going to Goodwill each and every day. I want it to be affordable, good clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that, yeah, that
With
was
quality clothing as
Mhm.
well.
Yes,
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So that's the kind of the journey that
the
drove us,
beginning.
the beginning journey that drove us eventually into modesty. I mean, we took after the whole thing closed down, we got to the word, and we took a break. I took a break from business for probably
Oh, year or
no,
two.
no, I took a good little break,
You
maybe
did?
because I think that business we closed that business down. Maybe it was 2015, 2016,
Mm-hmm.
2015, 2016. Like, that's when I closed everything down, and then we started doing
Mm-hmm.
the prophecy seminars. And I don't think we started test trying modest apparel probably 2018.
Hmm.
Mm.
2 years later, maybe that's when we first started trying. Okay, man, we need to start working on getting some modest pieces. And we remember we test tried it first, and
Yes.
then we took a break from modest apparel.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, because we wasn't finding the right. There was a lot of research that needed to be done to find the right
Yeah.
sources, the right products. And I had to just go back to the drawing board, like, kind of like,
What is
yeah, like,
the dress reform? Like,
yeah,
what does that look
Right.
like?
Right.
It
Right.
just be anything. So we had to do a lot of learning,
mhm,
understanding the message for ourselves before we can preach it to
Mm.
anyone in a sense.
mhm,
So with the whole modest apparel, I'll say at first it started as a ministry because that's something I was going through. And that's
Right.
something he had to be convicted because the business him and his partner had, they were making hella money. Like the money was good.
yeah,
Uh, so I'm like, if we're moving forward with that, it's spiritual. It's not financial at this point.
mhm,
So that's something we have to be prayerful about it and
mhm,
reading the Bible in spirit of prophecy and like how do we move forward with this? Because it's not only a business at this point, it's a ministry.
yes,
Mm.
yeah. So, yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot of consideration in regards to, like you're saying, like, I'll talk about that. And I counsel to a lot of friends, so to friends, I'm like, yeah, man, hey, I've been thinking about running back, to that type of business, modesty. And they're all like, hey, man, yeah, you know all about it already. You've been in, you guys should do it. And then, prayer, doing a lot of research, and just talking to people who just eventually saw a need for it. And there was not,
Mm.
we didn't see no. That's one thing also with modest apparel, man. It's like it's a, it's a, it's a, it's I think it's one of the most controversial ministries out there in a
Mm.
sense, because modesty is so broad in, understanding to people of what
Depending on the
modesty,
culture
yeah, what
and
modesty really
society.
is, and what, because I mean, I was there is so much to it in regards to modest apparel. There's people there's some people that just they new to the message. They're not gonna do the 3 inches of the ground dresses. You know what I'm saying? They're just not gonna do that. They don't understand that yet. And there's some people
Mm-hmm.
that are there. And then one thing I started learning about modesty, I don't put I,
A
I
uniform.
I don't put. I'm not gonna go tell somebody. I'm not gonna have a ruler and have to measure somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to that point, I feel like it's legalism to me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna go. hey, I'm going to go to church and stand at the door and keep a ruler. It's just 3 feet off the 3 inches off the ground. You know, I don't think that's I don't think that's what God is calling us to do. You know, but I do believe that there's a need for to be covered up and then to be presented. You know, in a manner where you are relatable as a young person, if you're a mature adult, where you are relatable to your age group, and that you're covered up and you're representing Christ, and you're not becoming a stumbling block to other people. I think that's the focus to have, is to not be a stumbling block to other people. And with modesty, it's so broad. It's like one person could wear a dress and on them it's not modest. While somebody else wear that same dress, on them it's modest, based on their body style. So there's so much factor and component into that.
That's true.
Where we those things that's things we are learning as we get involved more into that business, and then eventually, that's one thing we want to eventually get into the where we have full control of everything we produce ourselves. But for the time being, we are at the mercy of a lot of other factories and manufacturers that we work with right now. But our main goal is to eventually produce ourselves.
Yes,
that's awesome. That's the goal in the future.
Yeah, that's the goal in the future. Well, that's one of the
that's awesome.
One of the goals
that's
in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so interesting though, because I love how you said that it was a ministry, right? It wasn't about the financials. It was about the ministry. And, that's one thing that I truly believe is that any true business is a gospel business, because the gospel is a wonderful simplifier of life's problems, it says. And so that means the gospel solves every problem the world ever experiences. When the gospel completes his work, every problem will be done. Every problem will be solved, right? Death, sorrow, sickness, pain, all that will be taken care of when the gospel completes its work. And so when we're talking about putting a business together, if we don't have a problem or a need that we're solving, then our business can't survive, because it's not built upon the foundation of the gospel. And so when you said that, I saw what was going on in my life and my experience, then I recognized that other young ladies are also having this same issue, right? I saw a need there. And so the what came up from out of y'all was the need to then help those individuals. But I love how God uses things to where the thing that he has called you to do not only helps take care of others, but also it could be a blessing unto you as well. Everything God does is a win-win situation. I love these win-win situations from God. And so he said, when he made Aaron's, the priestly garment, said he made it for glory, right? And for beauty, right? Yeah. Glory and beauty, right? So they should character, they should be modest, but yet they should be beautiful.